Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. Now today's first story comes from Throwaway Annoying Brother-in-Law, and a couple of warnings before we do get into this story. It contains homophobia and parental death of a child. And it's titled, Dad, 62 male, won't spend Christmas with brother-in-law, 28 male. And Mum, 60 female, is blaming my wife, 36 female. This is a throwaway account, as I have work colleagues on my main that I don't want to know about my family drama. And spelling will be rubbish, as I'm fuming right now. Obligatory, all names have been changed. So, for the backstory. I, 36 female, am married to the love of my life, 36 female, Kay. We met when we were 17. She was out and proud while I was still in the closet, so we didn't start dating until I came out at 21. We got married in 2019 and have adopted a 4-year-old son, Jack. This comes in relevant in a minute. My sister, 27 female, Sarah, has a long-term boyfriend, 28 male, Steve, who the family cannot stand. They've been together for 8 years and the whole family has hated him from the first time we met him. He is rude, obnoxious, arrogant, and all in all, a crappy human being. He's also someone that likes to claim that he is just honest, but if someone is honest back to him, he flips out and sulks like a toddler. In fact, my toddler is better behaved than him. He isn't abusive to Sarah and doesn't direct those comments towards her. It's just the rest of us. He's actually a good partner to her and treats her well, which is one redeeming quality. My dad and Kay hate him the most and will do anything to avoid him at family gatherings. Kay usually just ignores him and brushes off anything he says to her, as she doesn't like conflict. However, there have been a few occasions that she has said something back, but it's usually said in a joking manner, which amuses my dad to no end. My mum is a peacekeeper and will do anything to avoid drama, so she just changes the topic whenever he starts. But she and my grandparents all hate him just as much as the rest of us. Sarah is the only one that obviously doesn't hate him. Our son's birth mother, Tess, was Kay's best friend, who sadly died in 2021. This was a real shock, as she had an underlying heart condition that she didn't know about and simply went to sleep one night and never woke up. Jack had been left alone in his cot all day screaming for his mum before Kay got worried that Tess wasn't answering her texts and went to the house to see if she was okay. She found Jack in his cot and Tess in her bed. We adopted Jack as no one in Tess's family was in a position to take him in. We raised him as our own, but he knows who Tess is. Obviously, this is a very sensitive topic for Kay, as it was so traumatic for her and Jack. Now, on to what happened last weekend. It was the anniversary of Tess's death on Saturday, so Kay, Jack, and I went to visit her grave. Kay is always quiet after going to see her, and this time of year is especially hard for her. On Sunday, we had a family gathering at my parents' house. These happen every couple of months as just to catch up for everyone. At first, nothing was out of the ordinary. Kay and my dad were off to the side talking as usual, only I could see that Kay was obviously struggling. So my dad and her went for a walk so she could clear her head. This is something they have done before, so nothing too unusual. However, Steve had an issue with this and asked why they had left and why he wasn't invited to walk with them. I explained that about Tess and Kay just needed a minute. This wasn't good enough for Steve though, and he said she should have gotten over it by now. At this, my granddad, who is naturally a very quiet guy, said that his best friend had died over 20 years ago. And he still had days where he missed him so much it hurt. You don't just get over something like that. Steve shut it at that. Kay and my dad got back and she was in a much better mood. We all sat down at the table for our late lunch and started chatting. Everything was fine at first until Steve started trying to butt into Kay's conversation with my granddad. When it was obvious that they weren't going to include him, he very loudly stated, "This is bullshit. She's getting all the attention of everyone because her friend died 3 fucking years ago. Get over it for fuck's sake. We're all sick of hearing about it." The whole table went silent, and I took one look at Kay and knew she was about to go off on Steve. Only it didn't happen the way I thought. Rather than exploding at him, she looked at him very calmly and said that her and Grandad weren't talking about Tess. They were making plans to take him to Christmas markets, but if he wanted to be a dick, then no problem. She then went on to say to him that everyone in the family hates him because he's a toxic, narcissistic fuckwad. That whenever he can't come to a family gathering, the whole family is much happier. That there is a reason he has no friends and that his own family can't stand to be around him. That reason is that he's rotten from the inside out, and that Tess may have only been on this planet for 32 years, but she's made a bigger impact on people than he would if he would live until he was 150. That her funeral was rammed with people because she was loved, where he'd be lucky if anyone other than Sarah was at his. After that, she got up and went to the back garden, and I followed her. A few minutes later, my dad came out and said that she had told Sarah and Steve to leave. We went back inside and Kay apologized to everyone and said she should have just kept her mouth shut. Everyone, other than my mum, told her what she had done was right, and it was about time someone told him. My dad then found it hilarious that a lesbian had been the one to tell him straight, which lightened the mood a lot. We spent the rest of the afternoon there before going to pick up Jack from Kay's mum's house, as she had him overnight on Saturday for us. The reason I'm making this post is that yesterday I got a call from Sarah saying that her and Steve wanted an apology from Kay, or they weren't going to Christmas. When I reminded her we wouldn't be at Christmas either, as it's our year to spend with Kay's mum, so it made no difference to us. She got really upset, saying that she wanted an apology because Kay was way out of line. I said she wasn't, and that I wouldn't even contemplate asking her to apologize because I agreed with everything she said, and so did everyone else there. She ended the call, and I just went back to work. Then today my dad called me and asked if Kay's mum would mind a few more at Christmas, as he was refusing to spend it with Steve, so he and my granddad needed somewhere else to go. Apparently after Sarah had called me, she called Mum and started ranting, and Mum had told my dad to get Kay to apologize, which he said no to, and they had an argument, and my dad has now decided that he's done with Steve, even if that affects his relationship with Sarah. He's not having it anymore. My mum wants Sarah there, and she won't go without Steve, so my dad is going somewhere else, and my granddad agreed with him. I text Kay's mum, and she said they were welcome, so now my mum is furious and saying that my dad and Kay are ripping the family apart. So basically, this has turned into a shit show. Kay has said she will apologize if I want her to, just to keep the peace, but I've told her no way. Everything she said was true. I just don't know where to go from here, and the people in my life all hate Steve that much that Kay could have physically attacked him and they would all still think that she's in the right. So that's why I'm asking internet strangers who might have had to deal with difficult family members. What can we do to get to a place where we can be around each other amicably? I'm struggling to see a way right now. And wow, didn't realize how long this got until I went to post it. Sorry about that. So someone said to OP first, for things to be peaceful, both parties need to want it. Kay did nothing wrong. I wouldn't ever spend another moment with Steve. I would let Sarah know that I love her and will see her anytime, anywhere, but I'll never see Steve again. If you have one guest that basically wants to shit on the holiday table, there is no path forward with them. Opie says, if it was just Sarah upset, then I wouldn't care. But it's my mum. She tries so hard to keep the whole family together, and she is devastated by what's going on. If it wasn't for her, then Sarah could go take a running jump for all I care right now. Some info about Sarah. This is the issue, that Steve and Sarah don't see anything wrong in what he's done. It was just him being honest. I'd be happier for her to apologize if Steve and Sarah admitted that what he said was in the wrong as well. Without that, I'm being stubborn about it. My dad told Kay he will fall out with her if she apologizes, as she did nothing wrong. There was no screaming or shouting. She said it very calmly. I feel like I'm stuck between making my mum happy and doing what I believe to be right. Then Opie said to another commenter, my sister doesn't see anything wrong in what he says, as he's just being honest, but loses it when someone else is honest back. I don't understand her anymore. Info about the mum. Take the high road and rise above it have been two of my mum's favorite things to say to us over the years. I just feel like enough is enough. He crossed a line this time that he can't come back from. I especially don't want my son around him when he says things like that about Tess." And to another commenter, Opie says, "If I hear my mum say take the high road one more time, I'm going to scream. I'm sick of the high road. I've been on it for 8 years. I'm happy on the low road now." Later that day, Opie added in the post, "Well, I've just found out that my granny and pa, my mum's parents, are going to my uncle's for Christmas and Steve is not invited. So it looks like it's just going to be Mum, Sarah and Steve for Christmas this year." Someone said to OP, "How'd you feel about that?" Opie said, "Vindicated, as my mum is like her parents. They're all peacekeepers, and if they ever have had enough, then it just shows that he's not just stepped over the line, he's ran right past it." Opie adds, "Kay's mum has already told her that if she changes her mind, then she is welcome at her house. Even if it's Christmas morning, she is more than welcome. Obviously, Steve and Sarah aren't invited at all, but it's good that my mum has the option at least." And then OP later reflects and says, "I've realized that he's been trying to target Kay and my dad's relationship as they're very close. They've traveled all over the country visiting class car shows together, which Steve has tried to get in on. But he doesn't know anything about cars, so there's no point in him going, even if they did like him. I actually think he's been trying to push Kay and I out of the family so that he gets my dad to himself, even though my dad can't stand him." Now, we've seen this shit too many times. Your mum's peacekeeping isn't actually keeping any peace at this moment in time. It's just enabling Steve's shitty behavior. You notice that the family is only torn apart when someone stands up to Steve, not when Steve's being an absolute jackass to everyone else, mocking someone's grief over their best friend who's passed away. I personally love the way that she handled it, and fair play to her. And I know I say it a lot, but what goes through their bloody head for that stupid shit to come out of their mouth at the Christmas dinner table like that? It's just, it's madness. And I totally understand how Kay was feeling about like the anniversaries of losing someone, etc., especially something as traumatic as that. It's strange how the body reacts around grief. Like I've told you guys before, one of my family members, around the anniversary of their death, it sort of sneaks up on me. I wasn't even really thinking about it, but then it's a strange one. My body seems to like subconsciously remember the dates, and I find myself like unusually sort of emotional during those days building up to that anniversary and after. And then at some point it just click in my head, oh shit, it's around that date, right? And as strange and as painful as it is sometimes, I do enjoy it because it brings back the good memories that I had as well. But anyway, I'm going off on one as usual. OP comes in with their update and says, "Hi. I know how much this community loves an update, so I thought I'd give you one as things seem to be sorting themselves out. Kind of. After I wrote my last post, a few things happened in the next couple of hours. First thing was that I spoke to my grandparents on my mum's side. They were there when all this happened, but they're like my mum and just constantly tried to keep the peace. That's where she gets it from. They were supposed to be spending Christmas with my mum this year, but had changed their minds and decided to spend it with my uncle instead. They've made the decision to not be around Steve either, as he causes too much drama. They asked if they could come and see us and Jack on the 23rd before they head off to my uncle's, which I happily agreed to. This really surprised me, and it outright shocked my mum. As like I said, they are the biggest take the high road type people I've ever met, but even they had had enough. The next thing that happened was my dad called to let me know that Steve and Sarah had now decided that they want Kay to make a public apology in front of the whole family and admit she was lying and that the family loves Steve. He was laughing as he told me this and called them delusional, so any small chance of a superficial apology went out the window. The third thing that happened was Jack getting home from after school club with a recorder that I'm sorely tempted to shove up the teacher's backside. So all in all, it wasn't a great day. Through talking to people on here, I also realized that Steve had been trying to push Kay and I out the family, organizing trips that he knows we wouldn't be able to go on. We wouldn't have gone on them anyway, as a weekend away with him sounds worse than a paper cut to the eyeball. Ow. And him constantly trying to get my dad away from Kay whenever we're all together. I think this is because he is jealous of Kay and Dad's relationship, as they're very close and go on trips to classic car shows several times a year together. usually with my granddad as well. Anyway, things went quiet for a few days until the weekend. Our town has a big Christmas fair that runs from November through December, and we always go to it with Mum, Dad, Grandad, Kay's mum. We decided to cheer my mum up a bit to go on Sunday and then out for dinner afterwards. My mum was told that if Sarah or Steve showed up, then we would all leave, and she promised they wouldn't be there. Things were a bit awkward at first, but settled after a while. At one point, Jack got my mum and dad to take him on the giant snow slide, and as my mum walked back over to us, she had tears in her eyes. I pulled her to one side to see what was going on, and she said that whilst waiting in line, Jack had said he was happy Uncle Steve wasn't here. When my mum asked why, he said that Uncle Steve was a bad man. My mum tried to say that he wasn't, but in a typical stubborn 4-year-old fashion, he'd argued and said he had learned in school that people who say mean things all the time are bad people, and Uncle Steve said mean things all the time, so he was a bad man and that he didn't like him. There had been a case of bullying in class a few weeks ago, and the teacher had done a lesson on how wrong bullying is, so I think that's where this came from. This finally broke through to my mum. Even a 4-year-old can see what a horrible prick the man is, then she too as well. She said that she felt stuck because she hated Steve and agreed with everything Kay has said, but she loves Sarah and doesn't want to isolate her. I told her I would always be there for her, but I wasn't putting myself, Jack, or Kay through being around Steve again, and she needed to think about what she wants. Not what I want, or Dad, or Kay, or Jack, or her parents, or Sarah, or Steve, but what she wants. She went quiet, and then said that Kay's mum had told her she was welcome at hers for Christmas if she wanted to, and that she could decide on Christmas Day if she wanted. Kay's mum would save her a plate. We went back to the group, and a little while later, I saw Mum and Kay's mum having a deep discussion while walking behind us. Neither will say what they talked about, but Mum seemed a bit happier after their talk. They have also been talking since, as yesterday my mum told me that she'd be coming to Kay's mum's for Christmas, and they've been talking about going shopping together next week. When Mum told Sarah after calling me, Sarah predictably lost her mind and said that Mum was choosing us over her. My mum told her she was choosing to have a good Christmas rather than being belittled and made miserable, all for the sake of Steve and his so-called honesty. Sarah then called me and asked if I was happy that I'd won. She then did the unforgivable and used a few homophobic slurs towards me and Kay and called Jack the bastard of a slur. I ended the call, blocked her everywhere, and then let my family know what had happened and that I never wanted to speak to her again. They're all as appalled as I am, and my Ganny, Mum's mum, called Sarah and apparently told her she was dead to her, as she won't have a bigot in the family. Sarah has been trying to reach out to apologize because she knows she has stepped over the unforgivable line, but I've just kept blocking the fake accounts that she's making on Instagram. Steve tried reaching out to my dad after this, and when he eventually answered, Steve tried to say that Sarah was just angry and didn't mean it. According to Mum, Dad ended up giving him a verbal lashing and told him he was the worst thing that ever happened to Sarah and our family. My dad has told Sarah he is disgusted with her, but will be there for her if she leaves Steve. Until then, good luck. Mum has gone low contact as well, but wants to keep the door open so that Sarah isn't completely isolated. I had a few people saying that Steve may be abusive towards Sarah, but I really don't think he is. He usually acts like a dick when the attention isn't on him. He knows that when he says dickish things, then all the attention is on him, and he revels in it. After Sarah's outburst, I just think they're both toxic and feed off each other's toxicity. She lets him get away with things he says because she gets pleasure out of watching us all bite our tongues and keep quiet. So, Mum's angry, Dad's angry, our 3 grandparents are angry, extended family are angry, and Kay is being my rock. But I can tell she's really angry about what she said towards Jack. I'm just sad and done with it all. At least now I know what she really thinks about Jack, Kay and myself, so there's that. Not the perfect update, but we move on. It'd be nice this Christmas to have both sides of the family together for the first time and not have to worry about Steve being a dick. But I'm sad that is how my relationship with my sister has ended. I'm trying to get into the Christmas spirit, but it's a tough one right now. The only things that make me smile are Kay and Jack being goofy idiots to cheer me up. However, the recorder can go to hell. I curse whoever invented the thing. Like seriously, fuck you. Thanks for all the support in my original post and opening my eyes to a few things. Maybe internet strangers are the way to go for advice after all. Hope you all have a good Christmas and holidays. The commenter says, I don't think the dickish brother-in-law and Sarah saga had concluded. I'm glad you have a peaceful Christmas in theory. I just think the pair of them are not convinced yet that they're shut out. Opie says it wouldn't surprise me if they tried to turn up to my parents for Christmas, but we won't be there, so they won't get far. As long as they stay away from me, Kay and Jack, then I don't care what they do. Another commenter says, may small children playing recorders with more enthusiasm than skill follow Steve everywhere. Opie responded saying, this just made me laugh a little too hard. Thanks for that. No, I didn't get the recorder when I was younger. We had ocarinas. I am telling you, I was able to bang out hot cross buns on an ocarina. Used to give it a little flair, a little sass at the same time, if you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, a month later, OP comes in with another update and says, hi all, relationship advice only allow for one update, so I thought I'd post this here, as I've still got people reaching out for an update about Christmas. This might be a bit anticlimactic, but nothing much has happened. Sarah stopped trying to reach out to me the first week of December after one final message through a mutual friend saying that she loves me and is sorry. My dad has spoken to her once on Christmas Eve to wish her and her alone a Merry Christmas. My mum has spoken to her a few times and had breakfast with her on Christmas Eve, but that's it. As far as I'm aware, Steve and Sarah spent Christmas at their house alone. I do know they went to a party on Boxing Day with one of Sarah's friends, and Steve was on his best behavior according to someone I know who was there. Maybe he's learning. Who knows? I did have a few people asking about why Steve and his family don't speak, and after talking to Dad, I found out that Steve said something to his brother's wife at a family gathering that led to his brother and him having a huge argument that turned physical. After that, Steve's brother refused to have him around himself, his wife, or his kids, so Steve's mum and dad told him he wasn't welcome to family events anymore, and they went very low contact with him. He apparently gets a phone call on his birthday and Christmas, but that's about it. My dad was told this by Sarah, who was there when it happened. As per usual, she tried to downplay the whole thing and say that Steve's family were overreacting. Sounds oddly familiar. We spent Christmas at Kay's mum's house, and my mum, dad, and granddad all came as well. My mum and Kay's mum haven't ever spent a lot of time together, but they have been recently, and they've become good friends, meeting up for lunch and going shopping together a few times. It's a bit of an odd pairing as my mum is very straight-laced and Kay's mum was a punk when she was younger, and I was really into Wicca and natural healing. Seeing my mum dressed in a Sunday best and Kay's mum in a Sex Pistols hoodie is an odd sight, but they get along great, so that's nice. Christmas overall was good. Nothing special, just relaxing. Without Steve being around, there was no need to be on edge. Jack was very spoiled and loved every second of it. I'll be honest and say I miss my sister a lot, and part of me really wanted to call her on Christmas Day. But I know I can't have her in my life right now. That's about it. All very boring. I still want to launch Jack's recorder into the sun. But he loves it, and his rendition of London's Burning is improving. I was good at that as well. Listening to 26 4 and 5-year-olds enthusiastically try to play London's Burning on a recorder at the Christmas nativity play was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. That got the biggest cheer of the night, that's for sure. I hope everyone had a great holidays and has a brilliant new year. The commenter says, this is not a recommendation, however, a dog can really do a number on a recorder. Great chew toy. Just saying. Opie says, funny you should say that. We've been offered a rescue puppy that'll be ready in a few weeks. So if we get one, then she could solve our problems. When it got to the part of, Steve's own family cutting him off as well, it just said it all for me really, didn't it? But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me. So thank you for being amazing. And I will see you in the next one. Take care and much love.